Singapore's financial institutions lead APAC AI deployment, with 64% running AI in production as governance pressures intensify. To unpack this, we speak with Chris Lewin of Deloitte and Priyanka Shukla of Gartner. Chris, Priyanka, thank you very much for joining us. Singapore is being described as a regional leader in enterprise AI adoption, especially in financial services. From your view, what is actually driving this acceleration right now?
In financial services, the drivers are very practical. So banks and payment providers are dealing with rising customer expectations, margin pressures, and fraud. What this means for AI is it can help right at the heart of the business. So in transaction monitoring, customer support, and operations, because that's where it takes the friction out. In our state of AI in the enterprise survey, we find in Singapore about a third of the respondents say they've moved 40% of more of their AI pilots into production. So that's a significant signal that AI is becoming embedded into core workflows.
Where is AI already delivering value, and where is the hype still ahead of reality?
The real value of AI is in financial services is coming from areas where AI is essentially used to augment employees and is embedded in controlled workflows, which has measurable outcomes like fraud, risk, customer service, software development. And areas where I feel it is still hype is autonomous banking operations. There is hope that one day the technology will mature, that you can autonomously conduct transactions, but regulations still mandate human in the loop for agents. And also hyper-personalized financial advice, because you want AI outcomes or advice to be explainable. You want them to be auditable, compliant. And with data privacy and regulatory concerns and scrutiny, that is difficult. Another key area that I want to call out, because everybody keeps asking me about human-like chat experiences. We want to use AI for customer experience. So in that area also right now, at least, it is very limited capability in customer-facing Gen AI due to hallucination risks.
I think two things can be true at the same time. There's real value that's already showing up on the ground, but then there's also this level of institutional change on the horizon that many leaders are aiming for, but no one's reached yet. The story's clear. So teams across the enterprise use AI to clear backlogs faster, answer questions more quickly, maybe spot issues early. And you see it in simple things, automating routine checks, pulling in the right information for staff, helping fraud teams find unusual patterns. Almost 3 out of 4 leaders in Singapore say that they're already seeing better efficiency, better productivity, which again is ahead of that global picture. Where expectations or ambitions are still ahead of reality is in this full business model transformation. So we've only got about a third of leaders here saying they're redesigning key processes with AI, and less than a third saying they're rethinking their whole business model around them. So the challenge to come is what products, what services, what journeys can we design differently with the assumption that AI is in the room from day one?
Now, I want to ask you, Chris, Priyanka, what governance gaps are emerging as AI becomes more deeply embedded in banking and payments?
Governance is an emerging area, and maturity is yet to be achieved in financial services. The top gaps that I see is, firstly, there's unclear ownership and accountability for AI outcomes. Who is responsible when AI makes a mistake? Is it business owner, the model owner, the technology team? Who essentially is responsible and accountable? Second is insufficient third-party and AI supply chain oversight, because banks increasingly rely on third-party providers, cloud providers. And then the scope of oversight increases massively. And the third final category that I feel where there's a glaring gap is having visibility into full AI inventories, including shadow AI and AI embedded in vendor solutions. So these are the three top areas of gaps in governance that I see.
Organizations that scale AI the most effectively are the ones that treat AI governance as part of their operating model. Now, these governance structures, they need to evolve as the tech evolve and as adoption grows. Firstly, there is this gap between the aspirations and the operations. So in Singapore, our research shows that maybe 72% of leaders say they plan to use autonomous AI agents by 2027. So the technology is moving fast and the guardrails need to keep pace. The second part of the question, what does this look like? You've got to look at where data is pulled from. You've got to surface maybe only the latest disclosures. You've got to route certain cases to humans for approval, the right ones. You've got to log interactions so your compliance and audit function can review them. You want to move to a point where you're building in those control frameworks from the start, and that's how you start to close that aspirations to operations gap. The other thing is that the bar for AI fluency at the board level keeps getting raised. So most boards of directors will now recognize that AI belongs in the core risk and strategy agenda for an organization, but these same directors are still building their own understanding of what to ask for. So boards need to keep asking questions in terms of where is AI making or informing decisions today? Which of those sit inside existing regulatory expectations? And what are the control frameworks that are in place?
Why does Agentic AI create a different cybersecurity and accountability challenge from earlier AI tools?
With Agentic AI, it's not just about AI giving advice or summarizing content to taking actions. So where you have Agentic AI interpreting a goal, planning steps, making calls to tools or APIs sometimes even without any human intervention. It expands the attack surface. Any agent that is compromised through prompt injection, or let's say a malicious instruction or stolen credential, can not just leak data, but it can actually take actions like executing fraudulent transactions or autonomously moving money or granting credit, which increases the financial and compliance risk. Another risk is that the decision trail becomes opaque. So you can't pinpoint the actual point where an issue may have occurred because it is a multi-step, multi-system action chain that you need to keep track of. The boundaries between human and machine essentially blur. And again, there is unclear ownership because these agentic systems are spanning multiple domains, connecting to different core banking systems, external tools, databases. So the question is no longer whether AI's outcome is accurate. Now it is, okay, was the agent authorized? Did it stay within scope? Can you explain the reasoning that the agentic tool had taken? Can you stop it if anything goes wrong? And who essentially pays when agentic AI fails?
How prepared are Singapore's financial institutions to detect and contain a failure that starts in one agent and propagates across interconnected systems?
I think there's a lot of learnings that everyone is going through at the moment as this technology evolves and the adoption throughout enterprises. So first and foremost, getting those governance frameworks in place is what will help address some of those challenges or those risks. Looking at this from a holistic perspective, looking at it across the C-suite, getting different parts of the organizations realizing that monitoring, controlling, governing agents is going to become a core competency for enterprises is the journey we all have to go on over the next 2-3 years.
Now, to the both of you, what should CIOs, CISOs, and boards prioritize this year to keep AI deployment safe without slowing innovation? And how important is it to either upskill executives or include more diverse voices to the AI deployment decisions mix?
So for banking leaders, I would say they should prioritize institutionalizing and operationalizing governance. So they need to ensure that bank scales AI with clear accountability and evidence that risk is being monitored in real time. They need cross-functional AI governance spanning different CIOs, CISO, risk, compliance, business lines with well-defined responsibilities. They should build one enterprise AI control plane that gives banks the visibility and control over all AI use that's happening within the enterprise. And one last thing is having secure by design principle. So instead of bolting on security and control as an afterthought, it should be introduced early on. But I don't see AI as exclusively a technical domain. The way AI is implemented, it should be led by business value, right? So you need equal representation and ownership from business line leaders, from the risk and security, and different stakeholders, legal, regulatory. And another thing, given how scarce AI and machine learning talent is, way to move forward is upskilling teams so that AI becomes part of the skill set of the enterprise. So everybody within an organization is aware of the risk and can use it effectively.
Every leadership team is wrestling with that question right now. So how do I scale AI whilst also ensuring the appropriate level of trust and control across the organization? Now, this path to scale, it requires a whole of enterprise approach, all the way from having clear ownership and accountability across the executive into how humans and agents work together in an operating model, through to things like the data foundations that you need. 3 specific aspects to consider. So first, set a clear risk-tiered roadmap that goes beyond quick wins. So decide where AI can genuinely change how you serve your customers or run the business. Second, embed AI governance into how the organization already runs. Time to take AI and make sure it aligns into your existing risk and compliance structures, plug it into central policies and processes, and treat controls and monitoring as part of everyday operations, not just a side project. Lastly, invest in the change readiness of your business. So build that AI literacy from the board level down, and then create an upskill into roles around AI governance, AI risk management, and provide the freedom within a frame for teams to experiment with clear guardrails, so that the familiarity with the strengths and weaknesses of the tool is built across the enterprise.
Chris and Priyanka, always a pleasure to talk to you. Thank you both so much for sharing your thoughts.
Thank you, Paolo. My pleasure.
Once again, those were Chris Lewin, the AI and Data Asia Pacific Leader and Executive Director at Deloitte, and Priyanka Shukla, the Senior Principal Analyst at Gartner India within the CIO Financial Services Business and Technology Insights team. For more news, visit sbr.com.sg.